All right, Mr. Clark here with a little explanation about using trigonometry to find a missing angle. Now we're going to use inverse trigonometry here, and I think right away that sounds a little bit harder than it's going to be. You'll see pretty quickly that it's a lot of the same steps we just did, and just one slight adjustment on the calculator at the end. All right, so looking at 6. So we have our missing angle with a question mark there. Right away, we want to start off just labeling the sides that we're going to be working with, just like we did before. So we're given 2 sides instead of having one missing this time. So 18 is opposite from the missing angle. 21 is opposite from the right angle, so it's a hypotenuse. So we have opposite and hypotenuse. So that tells you right away, okay, this is a SO. We're going to use sine. So we have sine of the angle equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So the missing angle, you could put a question mark there if you want. You can use any variable you want. I ended up just going with x. So we got sine of x equals the opposite side, 18, over the hypotenuse, 21. Now at this point, once you have it set up and you're missing the angle, but you do have a fraction on the other side of the equation, you're ready to actually take the inverse. Now the inverse, I would almost compare it, it's almost like dividing the function over to the other side. That's one way you could, think of it that's, comfortable and familiar. It's a little bit different, but, that's one way you can look at it. But anyways, we ultimately want to get x by itself, so we're going to use the inverse to move sine to the other side. So when we bring sine from the left side to the right side of the equation here, we move it over using the inverse of sine. So that's that little exponent there with a -1. That's the inverse of sine. Whenever you have that exponent, it's the inverse of whatever function you're dealing with, whether it's sine, cosine, or tangent. So when we have that set up, we're ready to go. Now, if you have, your standard scientific or graphing calculator, at this point, you would hit second or shift, and that'll give you the option when you click sine, it'll give you the inverse of sine instead of just, regular old sine. So again, you have to hit second or shift first. And then you can type in the fraction 18 divided by 21, close the parentheses, and hit enter. Now, if you're doing this on the, the iPhone calculator, you're gonna have to, you'll turn the phone sideways, and you're just gonna do 18 divided by 21 to start. You'll get a decimal for that, and then you're gonna go into second. Make sure you click that second button, and it'll actually give you the inverse of sine as an option. So you'll hit second and then inverse of sine, and then that'll give you the angle. Now we're rounding to the nearest degree, so this 58.997 is going to become 59. Now looking at the second one, or number 7, we're given the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. So we have a, so this is ka out of SOHCAHTOA, so we're going to be using cosine. So we have cosine of x equals the adjacent side, 52, over the hypotenuse, 57. Again, we want x by itself, so we're going to use the inverse of cosine to move it to the right-hand side. So x is now equal to the inverse cosine of that fraction that we had, 52 over 57. So again, on the calculator, you're just going to hit second or shift and then click cosine, type in your fraction, close the parentheses, and hit enter. If you're using the iPhone calculator, remember, you're doing 52 divided by 57 first, and you'll end up being able to, hit second and then cosine after that. So that'll get you 24.18 or 24 degrees when we round. Finally, looking at number 8, looks like we're given the opposite side to the missing angle and the adjacent side. So this is OA, so we're in the TOA part of SOHCAHTOA, so we're going to be using tangent of x equals the opposite side, 22, over the adjacent side, 47. Now at this point, again, we want x by itself, so we're going to move tangent over to the other side using the inverse of tangent. So now we have x equals the inverse tangent of 22 over 47. And again, if you're on a standard calculator, you hit second or shift and then tangent, type in that fraction, close the parentheses, and hit enter. If you're using an iPhone, you got to do the fraction first, then type in the inverse of tangent, and you'll end up hitting enter to get 25.08. And when we round, that's going to be 25 degrees. All right, so you know the deal. Just email me if you have any questions.